Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 9 of Conscious Conversations in Parenting with me, Angie, and my partner, Natalie. So for episode 9, we're going to be talking about breaking karmic loops through our beliefs. Because many of us unconsciously, not even realizing it, might not realize that, we're creating karmic loops by saying things like by repeating a belief that we have, like I've always been this way, or I always do this. And guess what? When you say these kinds of things, we're actually creating that experience. We're creating that karmic loop that we actually want out of. We don't want anything to do with it, really, right? And so I'm excited for us to get into this conversation. If you're new here, I'm Angie, and I'm the creator of Journey to Soul. And I love having conscious conversations. I'm a mom. I have a husband, and I have a 10-year-old and a 4-year-old. And conscious conversations is what I live for. I've always enjoyed these kinds of conversations. It's what has evolved me over time, and because we activate each other, right? And so that's why we do this. And so I'll let Natalie introduce herself to you before we get into this.
Hi guys, thanks for joining us. My name's Natalie. Like Angie, I'm a mom. My family is my husband and our 2 kids, and a couple of cats, and I don't know, whatever spiders are living in the house at the moment. I love insects, so there's always space for insects in my house. Um, so I am an intuitive writer. I'm working on a book right now called 21 Days to the New Earth. It's in editing mode right now, and I'm getting so excited. And it's really just about, again, like these simple tools that'll get us to that next level of awareness, of mindfulness. Yeah, so I'm pretty excited about that. So I'll give more details when it actually drops later on. But I mean, I just love sharing conversations like this, and I completely agree with you, Angie. It really does. Um, I mean, it helps others, but it helps us through these conversations. Just like fire me up, and it unlocks remembrances within us, right?
Yes.
Which is why I love sharing my knowledge um, through writing or just these conversations. So I'm really excited about today's topic. It'll be so much fun.
Yeah, it always is. It always is, right? And yeah, we're meant to live this way. Like we're demonstrating. I feel like what we do is we demonstrate how we are meant to live because we're all unique. We all have unique codes to bring, right? And so what like living in the new earth is
Yeah.
having conscious conversations. These things have been hidden in the dark. We haven't like people have not wanted to talk about these things, right?
Or they don't know how to talk
Or they
about
don't know
them, right?
how. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you start hearing it and you even if you just start listening and not being part of the conversation, it's activating. And
Yeah.
definitely I would say that's a lot how my journey started. Anyway, so let's talk about this karmic loops. So we're create like the karma might be there, right? And what we're not realizing is like maybe we have karma, right? With something, with someone, right? A pattern,
Mm,
whatever it is, right? Could be ancestral. It could be past life related. It doesn't even matter, right? It could be in this life. But what we're not realizing is our thoughts create our beliefs, right? And our belief, we speak it into existence too, like whatever we believe.
yeah.
And we end up we don't realize is we're taking that karma, we're perpetuating it now. And it gives us a story of, see, it's just my karma. You know what I mean? Or it's like it's my fate.
Yeah.
We call it fate. There's a saying, oh, I just heard this. I can't remember the saying. I'll have to look it up. But anyway, there is a saying about that is like we end up calling it fate, but we created it.
Yeah.
And that's what
Yeah.
I think these karmic loops are. That's my, like, I'm thinking, and I hear this often in people. I hear it a lot where it's like, I hear when people say something, it's like, well, I've always been that way. And it's heartbreaking because it's like, you've just given up. You've just accepted that you're this way.
Yes. Yeah, and that's the pitfall, right? That's the pitfall of that. If someone believes so strongly in karma or in fate, then you're giving your power away to external situations, right? You're giving that power, your power away to that toxic belief.
Yes.
Like, a couple of examples. Like I know we had mentioned anger as an example. Addiction is an example too, right? Or bad relationships. We someone may think that they're stuck in this karmic loop of bad relationships. Maybe they come from maybe their parents were divorced, and maybe their parents beforehand, and it's like, oh,
Yes.
they look back and they're like, oh, well, my family's always been this way. Or, oh, the women in my family just have bad luck with men, or
Mm,
whatever it is. And it's like, but we have to realize that what you speak becomes reality. So we have to, and also realize that, like, our thoughts, everything that we say, the more we repeat it, it becomes a belief, right?
right.
The more you say a thought, the more eventually you're going to believe it.
That's
And then the
right.
belief turns into, personality. And then you combine those personalities over multiple generations. I mean, that's karma right there, right? And once we realize that, like, really let this sink in, guys. Karma, whatever karma you feel may be in your family, whether that's anger or addiction, physical addiction, to drugs or alcohol or whatever it is, it all stems from one thought. That's how it all started, one thought.
And you don't
And
have to believe it.
I want this to empower you, everyone watching. I want this to empower you, because we just have to change that thought. We just have to replace that thought with something else. And that's essentially how you break karmic loops, right?
That is how you break it. And karma, like, these things happen over and over again to us, to invite us, not for us to say, oh, I've always been like that, or oh, my family's always been this way, or oh, I always pick horrible, partners. That's not why it's happening. Like, we need to understand that why it's happening again and again is it's inviting us to choose love. It's inviting us
Yeah.
to open our heart. It's inviting us to make a different choice than we did before when it comes back. And I think that's really important to understand. Like, that's why it's coming back. It's not coming,
Oh,
and it's not coming back to hurt us. It's not coming back to, you know what I mean, to punish us, which is what people think karma is often. Let's talk about
yeah.
that. People think, like, there's so much association to, if you don't understand what karma is, well, you immediately think it's bad. What goes
Yeah.
around comes around.
Yeah. Yeah. Ugh.
Right?
So much, right? Like, oh,
Oh,
just when
so
you said that,
dense.
I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, goes around comes around. It's so dense, right?
It is. It's very dense. Yeah.
Mhm. But what if karma is just an invitation? So you made one choice this time. Maybe you chose, like, that bad relationship, right?
No.
And you didn't learn what you needed to learn from that bad relationship, right? And that's okay. There's no judgment. There's no judgment that you didn't learn. It's okay. And so another bad relationship comes around. You have a choice, though. You have a choice to say, oh, I always end up in bad relationships. Or you open your heart to yourself, to that
Yeah.
person, and you say, okay, what do I need to learn here? Or is there,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things you could ask yourself. You could ask yourself, is there a reflection here of me that I'm not
Hmm.
seeing? And maybe there isn't. That's okay. Maybe there isn't. Or maybe it's just a chance to set a boundary. It's a chance to say no.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like get curious about it, right?
Mhm.
And what I found, and I know we say this a lot too, like, your external world is a reflection of your internal world.
Yeah.
But I just want to get a little bit more clear on that, because let's say you're in, you keep getting sucked into bad relationships with, I don't know, like an alcoholic or something, and then you're
Mhm.
like, well, Natalie, I'm not an alcoholic.
And
What the hell are you talking about, right? That's not
yeah.
a reflection of me. But maybe even if it's, someone with an angry disposition, or again an addiction that you're getting in a relationship with, it does
Mhm.
not mean that you necessarily are also an angry person. It just means that there's something inside of you that kind of has that like low vibe, right? So maybe
Yes.
it's self judgment,
Vibrational
maybe
match.
it's judgment towards other people. It doesn't have to be the exact same thing, but it may be on the same frequency, that same vibration,
Yeah.
right? So again, get curious about it. Be like, and ask yourself, ask your guides, ask God, why do I keep going into these types of relationships? Like, what about these relationships is pulling me towards them, right?
Yeah.
Because you are getting pulled into it, but it's like, why, right?
Yes.
Is
So
it
that's
just
where get
because it's like
curious.
the bad boy? Maybe it's like, maybe you have this belief of, oh, well, it's because I'm always attracted to bad boys or whatever. But is it really, like, dig a little deeper, right? Like, is that
Yes.
really what it is? And ask your guides, ask your higher self, because that will become, you'll get a more clear answer, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not in that moment. Maybe you'll have a realization when you're, going grocery shopping or something, or maybe in the middle of an argument.
Yeah.
And then some awareness will come in of a pattern that you've been repeating, right?
And all it requires is you to be willing to go deeper and go higher. Be willing
Yeah.
to go, be willing to go into it. Be willing to like, okay, so this relationship's showing up again. And instead of shaming yourself, instead of going, see, I did it again, you know, instead of doing
Mm,
that, can you just notice a pattern is happening? Oh, it's here again, and now can you go deeper and go a little higher and get
yeah.
curious? I love what you said, like get curious. Get
Yeah.
curious of like, oh, what's going on here? There's an opportunity. It's an opportunity. And even if you don't know what the opportunity is in that moment, that's okay. You're aware that it's come back.
Wow.
Let it come. It's coming back for a reason. So it's not like you become aware of it and you run away from it. It'll come back again,
Yeah. 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 So
right?
be aware of, we don't even have to be aware of like what the actual pattern is. You can
No.
just be like,
I
okay,
say, oh, I've seen this before.
I've seen this before. Okay, maybe there's a pattern here. Maybe even just saying maybe there's a pattern here, that
Right.
opens up a little bit of curiosity, and that opens up kind of like the floodgates for wisdom to come in. That you're saying, okay, God, like what is life trying to show me here, right?
Mm,
I'm willing to be a little bit more curious about this.
yeah.
I'm willing to dive like a little bit deeper, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this came up in one of our earlier conversations about karma. Like, what about these karmic loops that are fed to us, like this karma, like these beliefs that are passed down to us that we end up creating in our own family dynamics? So they came from our parents, and our parents maybe tell you that you were tough as a teenager, right?
Yeah.
And so they project onto us that our children are going to be tough, right?
Yeah.
And they project the fear. They project this fear onto us that you should expect. Well, society does this too, not just our family. So it's like this is collective programming, right? This is like big programming that teenagers are tough. and you were a tough teenager, so you deserve to have a tough teenager. And so we start believing, we already start talking about it when we have a child. Wait till they're a teen.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like
It's
Kyle used to say
insane.
it. Kyle used to say it all the time when Alice was actually when we found out we were having a girl. Like, oh man, when
Right.
when she's like 11 to like this age, she's yours.
Right? Yeah, there's this
Like,
huge belief
it's
that,
crazy.
yeah, that like what is it? Oh, girl, it's
If it's a
girls
girl,
either when they're kids, but not when they're teens, and then it's like the opposite with boys. Who the fuck does that? Like, sorry,
yeah,
sorry,
that's
YouTube.
what I mean by this. I'm like, it's crazy.
Oh, what the heck?
Like you have a
Listen, like,
baby. You have a
yeah,
baby, and you're
yeah,
already speaking this into
projecting.
existence.
Yeah,
Existence, yes,
yeah. You're
projecting it.
speaking it into your world, and you're also
Yes,
programming your baby. You're programming the people around you.
yes.
Is this really serving? Or do you just want to appreciate the time that you have
Yeah.
with your family and your household,
It
right? Because
robs
we
you.
have, yeah, for our, let's say, for our entire life here, like this lifetime, we have, like a set amount of time with certain people, because I mean, that's how we mapped it out. And there's messages, there's lessons that all these individuals are bringing to you. So
Yeah.
why not make the most of it, right? Like you have, let's say a child that typically lives with you, I don't know, let's just say 20 years, right? And but then you have those 20 years to explore your relationship together, to get to know them as a person, and to just be present with them and figure out this human thing, right? That's what I often say to
Yeah.
to my son who's 8. I'm like,
Let's just make
when
it.
if we're both having a tough time, or like, I was short with him and then I apologized. I'm like, like sometimes it's tough figuring out this human thing, right?
I
Like,
say that a lot to my kids too.
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
being
So
human
like,
is tough, honey. This is tough.
yeah, yeah. So let's change that. And like, we have the power, with breaking these karmic loops, whether that's, bad relationships, or again, that these societal beliefs of, teens are tough or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Of We have that power to be like, that's not my belief anymore.
I don't want
Like,
to
and
believe
just
that.
don't, yeah. Like I said, scrub it out of your world, right? It
Like,
doesn't need to be your belief anymore.
do you want to have a moody teen? Do you want to have a moody teen for 5 years? Is that what you want? I
Yeah.
don't think
Like, who
so.
wants to live with a miserable
Who
person,
wants that?
right?
Yes.
Yeah. Or do you want to
So
really like get to know this human being that you're living with?
I'll tell you, I was really grateful for this experience I had. So, the kids, my kids have been homeschooled for the last 2 years, and they're in school now, and my daughter's in grade 5, right? So she's in a grade 5, 6 class, and her teacher had given us parent homework. And the parent homework was just to share about our child outside of academics. She's like, we're going to be
Yeah.
together for a long time. I don't need to know academic stuff. I want you to share whatever you want to share, in
Ah,
however little or million words you want, right? So I didn't do this right away because I was actually having a really challenging time with her for the first 3 days, and I ended up having a big breakthrough and clearing the energy. And then what happened was that's when I sat down to do this. So I did this, and it was such a beautiful exercise because I have been speaking this karmic loop of like she's 10 and she's starting to show me attitude, and that's why we were having such a hard time in this very beginning.
ah,
And now she's surrounded by grade 5 and 6 kids, and I'm noticing some more attitude coming at me, right? And what happened was when I got to do this exercise, I got to reflect on everything that was great about Alice, like everything that was so wonderful about her to her teacher. And it gave me a moment to realize she's wonderful. And I've been focused on the belief. I've been focused on these beliefs of what a 10-year-old girl is like and the attitude that comes from a 10-year-old girl. And I couldn't have empathy for her. I couldn't have empathy for the emotions. She's just gone back to school after 2 years of not being at school. She is in a new school, like, it's an old school really for her, it was her kindergarten school, but she was in French immersion and then came out of to homeschool and then went back to her kindergarten school, right? So, I couldn't, instead of seeing that she was just taking in a lot of change and a lot of processing, a lot of emotion probably, I couldn't see that. I was instead giving my energy to the belief that this is when it starts. This is when it starts. That's what they tell you, right? Oh, this is the age that that attitude starts. And so I was so invested in that belief. And do you see, I'm creating the karmic loop then. She just, like, those 3 days were so hard. And it's because I was creating this karmic loop over and over and over again, that in 3 days it was so, so hard. But here's the thing, the invitation was for me to open my heart. And so, and to see
Yeah.
something, and I actually saw a behavior pattern in me that was deep, deep and ancestral and dark. And
Mm.
I was able to see it because of this happening, and then I was able to break it. And when I opened my heart, we've had such a good week this week, like an unbelievably good week.
Yeah.
And I got to do this exercise of writing and sharing everything that's great about her. And I realized in that moment, I need to keep, like, I need to put my energy there. Everything that's great about her. Not, not, oh, it starts at
Yeah.
10. This is where it starts. Not that.
Yeah, because there's like now there's like more it's not just teenagers, right? It's like, oh, preteens. And I mean,
Yes.
sometimes even babies, they say like the terrible twos or like
Terrible
teenager. And I'm
twos.
like, guys, you are just
I've
creating
said
your
that.
own crap. Oh, same here.
Yeah.
But with the awareness, and then you just catch yourself more. You just
Yeah.
you just become, the more aware you become of all this programming, and all these like self-creating loops that we do, the more you're aware of that, the more careful you are of your words.
Yeah. Imagine if I had said, imagine if I had written this to the teacher in when I was going through all that challenge. I probably would have
Yeah.
written some things about, some of the things we're trying to work on, with her. Like, I would have focused on that. The teacher responded. The teacher was like, "Oh, wow, this is so beautiful. Like, thank you. I can see those things in her." And now the teacher is going to treat her with that same love and respect that I poured into that letter. If I
Yeah.
had written the other stuff, the teacher would see her through that lens. Do you see what we do? We create the belief,
Yeah.
the lens. We create
Yeah.
the lens that we see through and others see through. So you said that too, like, we're telling others.
Yeah. Yeah. You're creating this self-perpetuating loop through your own beliefs. Then you're also speaking it to the world, and then other people are listening to this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very different. It's like, if I haven't met someone, let's say I haven't met somebody and my friend tells me about this person through their lens, and they don't like this person.
Mm.
And so they tell me all about this person, and I meet this person, and a part of me is like, they seem nice, but I'm going to start looking for what my friend told me about this person if I'm not conscious.
Yeah, like if they were portrayed as a liar, then you're like suspicious of everything
Oh, I
they
bet you
say,
that's a lie. Yeah, I
right?
wonder if that's a lie. Yeah, it's like you're waiting for it. You're looking for it. That's how we do this.
Yeah.
That's how we create loops.
Yeah. That's all that karma is, because a lot, or at least that's what that negative karma
Yeah.
is, right? Because
Yeah.
again, people have, you hear the word hear the word karma, there's often there's an instant belief, there's an instant kind of view of, oh, it's
Polarized to
negative,
the negative.
right? Like you heard, oh, you're going through this life situation, maybe you're having a tough time with relationships because you just cheated on, this person in your early 20s, or whatever, like karma, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, because
Not
you're
being
just, you're
punished.
attracting those bad relationships because you believe there's a belief somewhere in there that is causing your external world to like pull these bad relationships towards you, right?
Karma's not punishment. It's not punishment.
No.
That's the thing we need to move away from and reframe. It's not punishment, because here's the thing: you are love. You are love. If you are love, that doesn't exist. Like, these experiences don't exist if you are love. The only reason they exist is because our beliefs are that we're not love. And so
Oh,
they show up, these experiences show up in our life to invite us into love.
oh,
Right?
yeah,
And they disappear when we choose love.
yeah,
The loops break.
yeah. The loops break instantly sometimes
Yeah. This
because
is what happened.
it's all the beliefs in our head, right? And I find that maybe there's some karmic loops that you may find are harder to break, right? Like the generational ones, or even like the past life ones. But that's just because perhaps they're just more ingrained, right? Like it's a deeper belief.
Yeah.
It's those denser programs,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. But we always have to remember that, even with, even if you know about the past lives that you've experienced on this planet or elsewhere, the more you believe in it, the more you're reinforcing that belief, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe you're one of those like slaughtering emperors or whatever way back when, and then you're like, oh, like I was this person, right?
Yeah.
So like I deserve all this bad stuff. Well, no, but that all this bad stuff that's coming to you is literally because of that belief that you deserve these bad things, right? It's that belief of
Yeah.
victimhood. It's that vibration of victimhood that you're sitting in.
And that attracts all the experiences,
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
experiences of victimhood.
yeah,
And there's infinite experiences you can have. Infinite.
yeah,
But there's also infinite
yeah,
experiences that you can have, that I am powerful.
yeah. That I am creator,
I
right?
am creator. Yeah. I am abundant. I am prosperous. I am wise. I am loving.
Yeah,
That's the power of shifting our belief.
yeah,
And this is why conscious conversations are so important, because you're not just going to believe it all of a sudden. You're not just going to believe the opposite of it, right? You know,
yeah.
but when you have conscious conversations with people, it gets reflected to you that you are those things.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah. The more you participate or even just listen to
Listen.
these
Yeah.
conscious conversations with us, with your other, with your other friends,
Yeah.
with whoever, you are you're putting out that positive vibration, that consciousness vibration out there. Well, guess what's going to come back to you guys? That's going to start coming more into your experience.
Yeah.
And then it's going to swap out for those higher
Your
frequencies
belief.
are going to be exchanged from those lower frequencies that you're at, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more and more you're activated, and the more and more you hear these things, and you're shown a reflection of you, of the good parts of you. So we talk about negative,
Yeah.
the karma has this negative thing, but the thing is, when you start surrounding yourself with these higher conversations, because we're not better than you, we're not better than you at all. We're here, the literally why I share is because I want you to see yourself. Like, I want you to
Yeah.
see that this is you.
Yeah.
And that's why I
Yeah.
share. And
Because
so,
you're here right now. Yeah. Because you're here right now with us.
yes,
That this is a
you've
reflection
you've
of something
attracted
in
this
you.
in. Yes, you've attracted this
Yeah.
conversation in. It's not an accident that you're listening to this conversation. Not at all. And you did it.
Yeah.
You created it.
Yeah. And that's true karma, right? That's that more
That is
positive
it.
karma
That's the
of the
positive
good that
karma.
you put out in the world comes back to you.
Yes.
And that has a much more, like, one person doing one positive, one positive thing is more powerful than a million people doing a bunch of shitty things.
Yep.
And I strongly believe that.
I
And I
strongly
know
believe
that
that
because I've
too.
experienced that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've experienced it too. It's happening at a collective level, you know,
Hmm.
like,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah. Oh gosh. Like if there's one thing I want people to know, it's that. Like that's exactly it. Like what you're seeing, we always go to the negative. We're human. It's the human mind goes to the negative, but we have to be conscious means we consciously move the needle this way. That's what
Yeah.
being conscious to me is. We
Yeah.
have to be conscious to move the needle this way. And when we
Yeah.
move the
Yeah.
needle this way, we start to understand that that mirror isn't bad. That mirror is also positive. And we can
Yeah.
choose, oh, this person is in my life. Like I've been hearing this person that sounds, pure, authentic. I love what they talk about. Recognize that that's you. Don't put them on a pedestal. That is you. That's why they're there. They're there to show you.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely.
Mm,
And being aware, and I just feel like I need to maybe put a little bit more definition into awareness.
yeah.
Awareness is you recognizing your habits of, going down the pity party
Yeah.
path,
Yeah.
right? Instead of going more towards the positive. So you actually catch yourself in the act, like, oh, like maybe you stop yourself mid sentence, right? Or in the middle of a rant, and then you stop and you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
I actually don't want to say that. So I take it back. And you can do that, guys. Take it back. You're like,
Scrub it out.
all
What is
right,
it you say? Scrub it out.
scrub it out. I'm getting a t-shirt, man.
Yeah, you totally need a t-shirt for sure.
Yeah, actually it was interesting. I had like an intuitive idea the other day of, I think it was yesterday. I'm like, I should get like a custom t-shirt that says step 1, don't believe your thoughts. Um so yeah, that's, you're right. And
Yeah.
that's awareness, is just recognizing those behaviors within yourself. And
Yeah.
then step 2 is, what's another choice that feels a little bit
Yes.
better?
Do something different. I just taught this. I actually just taught this in membership. I grabbed it because it was a teaching, and it's train in the 3 difficulties. And that's what you're describing right now. The 3 difficulties is to recognize, that's the awareness, to recognize what's happening. Number 2
Yeah.
is to do something
Yeah.
different. Understand that there's a habitual pattern and choose something different.
Yeah.
And
And
then
this
number
is a
3,
beautiful example. Oh, yeah, go
I
ahead.
was just going to tell you what number 3 is of that, is to make this practice a way of life. Commit to
Habits, right?
commit to it becoming a way of life, doing something different. You know what I mean? Recognizing and doing something
Yeah.
different. And when you commit to making that a practice, then you start to shift those things and break those karmic
Yeah.
loops.
Yeah. When you say commit, the word determination came to mind, because I'm very determined. And ever since I really like dove deep into conscious awareness and like really felt that like huge awakening within me,
Yeah.
I really felt that determination of, no matter what, if it was changing my beliefs about something, then I ignored everything in the outside world, even if it was like sometimes literally screaming in my face. And I'm like, I don't believe it. It's just an echo of the past, right?
Yeah.
Because this present moment is a combination of your past frequency and your current frequency.
Yes.
So we can also see karma as this, right? Like these karmic loops that we're working on breaking.
Old energy.
It's old energy. And you can break old
showed
energy
up in
with
your
right
present.
now.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we brought that energy. I even look at it, I'm going to go a little deeper here. I even look at it as, okay, so we chose to incarnate here on the earth, right? And this is what I look at generational and past life energies, karma, okay? All it is we, before we come here to incarnate, we know what lessons we need to learn. That's why we chose to come here, right? And perhaps there is some karma we need to work out from a past life. We take that energy and put it into the soup of our energy that's going to come down into this body, and it's in there, and it's in there with your physical body, and at some point in your lifetime on earth it comes out and it attracts the experience, it attracts whatever's needed to bring that experience.
Yeah.
I look at it as
Because
just an
before we
energy.
dropped
It's
into
just an
these,
energy.
it is just an energy. Because when we're not in these physical bodies, we're like,
Energy.
let's jump in, let's dive in, let's experience this. Like, we get excited about going through all these different experiences. Because when you're not in a physical body, I mean, you don't feel like we feel right now.
Yes.
And it really is a beautiful experience. Sometimes we don't remember it until like we're like, whoop, we're out of the body and we're like, oh damn, that was fun. Even
Let's
though,
go
like,
back.
20 minutes ago you're like, get me out of here.
I want out.
Yeah.
This place is
But yeah,
crazy.
like yeah, and I mean that's a great point that you bring up, Angie, of we, like we chose we chose this life. And if whoever's watching, if you're having like a really tough time or you've had like a difficult life and you're like, why
I
would I want
did.
to choose this? Well, because it's because of it's because of the experiences, yes, but it's also because of the process of getting yourself out of that low vibration, of that tough life situation. It's about that journey and the things that you bring with you, and just that experience of getting to the other side, of crossing that bridge, of jumping over that chasm. That is that experience that really expands our soul.
And opens our heart and moves us
That's why
closer to
you
love.
wrote yourself. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's, I think it's why I brought that up is because it's really to understand that when, like, I've done it, I see humans do it, but we beat ourselves up. It's like, what's wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you that you're having this experience. Nothing is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. We chose it. And that is
Yeah.
hard to swallow sometimes, I understand. But in hindsight, everyone sees it in hindsight
Yeah.
when you do the
Yeah.
healing work, when you move towards consciousness, right?
Hmm.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm not going to dive too deep there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Probably a good time to wrap up
I think so.
this
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah. So just really just think about, my invitation to people, and maybe you have an invitation, is to really listen to what you're saying. Are there beliefs that you're saying about yourself along the lines of what we're talking about? Well, I'm just an angry person. Well, I've always been afraid of snakes. Like, whatever it is, what are you accepting about yourself? And so you
Without
keep,
question.
yeah, and so you keep having experiences of, somebody showing you a snake, or you know what I mean? That's a silly one, but just notice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my invitation to everyone watching is break it down into something simple, right? So really, again, what I said is, it all starts with a thought. So that thought, you repeat it enough, it turns into a belief. And then that belief becomes your personality. And then that personality over generations becomes like this negative, heavy karma that we associate with the word karma. But I mean, at the end of the day, it all comes down to thought. It all started with a thought, whether that was a thought from you or a thought from someone 10 generations ago. So that means that you can change it with one thought.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And that's it. We love you guys. Thank you for
We love you
joining us
so much.
on this conversation. Be gentle with yourselves.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, guys. We will see you next Tuesday.
We will.